Hello everyone, I am Crawlers and this is part 1 of my tactical mini-series on the use of tanks in Battlefield 4. Now, I'll start off by saying that yes, I know I'm a little late to the party and frankly, I was never that good of a tank driver, but still. In this video, I will include a few tactical ideas that I came up with, these of course being game-wise and not necessarily representative of the real world, but using tanks wisely in Battlefield 4 is a big part of the resources, I think, which means doing it well is a pretty big deal. Now, what I will do with this video, I think, is go through the basic tactics and maybe some pro tips for the tank, and in the next episode I'll go over specific damage for each type of primary shell, and I'll cover real quick the shell drop distances and show them to you in both the regular and zoomed variety, because you'll obviously have the zoom optics for the main gun. And by the way, I'll also upload these charts somewhere so you can download them for yourself and print them out and see about the shell drops. And in the final episode, I think I'll talk about the countermeasures that the tanks and the IFVs and the LAVs have that sometime in the future, and give you the specific timings and everything about them. Alright, so let's get to it. As a tank driver in Battlefield 4, you will have to deal with a lot of different types of enemies, as you're a pretty big target for the other team, and they will make it their life's mission to destroy you. So you have to assume that all the armor, every engineer, and every helicopter is out for you at any given time, and that every road, every narrow bottleneck is covered with so many mines you could walk from Greenland to Iceland to Scotland without getting your feet wet. That was a Hunt for Red October reference, by the way. So what I'm saying is your tactical awareness must be at an all-time high. You must never sit in one place longer than it takes for you to get one shot off. So taking flags in tanks and waiting stationary for that flag to cap is taking a very big risk, because you are, a very good target for any recon with C4. You must avoid going through narrow bottlenecks at all costs, as the engineers will attack you from all sides at once, and even if you get one or two of them, you're dead anyway. Having said all this, you must understand that as a tank driver, your number one priority is the destruction of enemy tanks, LAVs, and armor in general. Killing the enemy's foot soldiers isn't your top concern, so you shouldn't focus on them. This should be your gunner's concern if you have one, but of course if you don't, then you can try to avoid contact with the infantry as much as you can. Focusing on infantry too much will give you tunnel vision and you will not notice a tank coming right up your ass. You must also watch out for mines and, more importantly, M2 slams, as they are more versatile anti-tank weapons and can even be stuck directly on you, on the tank. This is why no infantry can be allowed too close to the tank. Watching, keeping an eye out for mines and other explosives can usually be done by just guesswork and spamming that Q button. Alternatively, you can equip the RRV scope or the thermal scope for the tank driver to spot explosives a little bit easier. So, choosing a correct loadout for a particular map is also a big deal. While a huge sprawling map like Silk Road, for example, will require something like maybe the sable round and the staff shell to deal with any, armor and LAVs and such, or any other combination of anti-tank weapons. Smaller, tighter urban maps like Siege of Shanghai, where you will have engineers popping out at you from every corner, the better setup might be an HMG or maybe a canister shell as a secondary weapon for killing anti-tank infantry. As an interesting side note, I figured out that counterintuitively, I can be pretty good at sniping infantry with the saber round. Now, the most important thing about correctly using the tank in Battlefield 4, I think, is timing. Timing is everything. Anticipating the main gun reload for yourself as well as the other guy, taking him by surprise with that first shot before, he realizes that you're basically uh, there, and give him a good shellacking when he's least expecting it. And timing your active countermeasures well enough so that you won't run out just when you need them most is important. To that end, there are a couple of pro tips I could give you. The best one right now is this seems to be a glitch that affects the staff shell in combination with any other shell as a primary. Usually, every shell for the tank in Battlefield 4 won't be ready to fire until it's gone through the full reload time. Even if you switch to another shell type during the reload, it still won't be ready. This is done to prevent shell stacking, obviously, and basically firing one shell after the other in a 1-2 punch, with two shells hitting right on top of another. With the stealth shell, though, this seems to have been overlooked. You can fire the stealth shell pretty much immediately after the main shell if you understand the glitch well. It won't work on the very first shot of the fully reloaded shells with backup shells in the magazine, so to speak, but for the stacking to happen, both shells need to be reloading, so at least one of each type, the main and the staff shell, must already have been fired. And then when they will be reloading, and their reload times will intersect, they will both reload at the same time, or very close, depending on when you fire them, and will be ready to fire one right after the other. To take advantage of this tactic in the field, I propose pre-firing both shell types into the ground before coming into a tank battle, so that the reload of both shells will intersect and be able to fire at the same time. Another tactical pro tip I could give you is about the use of active protection and timing it right to get the most out of it. Now, I won't go into specifics of every countermeasure the tank has in this video. It will be a separate video, but the overall idea I will cover right now. The active protection that the tank relies on is a manually activated system of active defense against every type of rocket and shell incoming that will destroy any incoming projectile in a very short amount of time while it is active. Now, because this system is incredibly OP in Battlefield 4, it has a very short active life and a pretty long cooldown period or reload time. As such, it will be important to time it well to defend yourself. Here are some do's and don'ts of the active protection system. Don't activate it right after you have been hit with the RPG or a tank shell. This will drain the time of the system, the active time of the system, and at the same time that the engineer or the tank is reloading, leaving you most likely unprotected when the time comes for the follow-up shot. Do activate it immediately after hitting a tank that has not noticed you until you hit him. After the surprise attack, his first knee-jerk reaction will be to turn and hit back. If your system is activated, it will absorb the first shell. Also, do activate it before entering a narrow bottleneck where you expect anti-tank infantry to swarm at you from all sides like flies on a cow turd. Don't activate the active protection if and until you haven't been noticed by the enemy tank or engineer. It will quickly run out, as I said before, leaving you defenseless. Do activate it if you see that the warning threat caution light is on. Also, do activate it if you see an attack helicopter off in the distance coming in for a strafe run directly on top of you. Another useful tactic is to accelerate as fast as you can directly into his flight path, thereby shortening the time his rockets can be targeted on you. This is, by the way, also a reference to the hunt for Red October. The less time you spend in the enemy's sights, the better, and since he cannot shoot straight down, you will make him overshoot and miss you with most of the rockets. On a related note, remember to use shift to quickly cross greater distances that are straight in a tank. Pressing shift will obviously make you go faster, but will do shit for your turning ability, so let shift go before you start going into a turn. Another thing that deserves recognition that I will mention real quick is the tank armor. Obviously, the thicker armor of the tank is in the front, and then it gets thinner on the sides and thinnest on the top and bottom and the back of the tank, so keep this in mind. You never present your ass to the enemy, because that's a good way to get dead. You also try to position yourself before firing the first shot, and therefore getting noticed and giving yourself away behind the enemy tank. So when you hit, it will hurt. Now, last thing I want to mention here real quick is the mouse sensitivity in mapping. Essentially, the sensitivity is a very personal thing that everyone feels different about, but when it comes to quick weapon swapping, I map it to my mouse side button, and therefore I can do it quicker. Alternatively, to quickly swap weapons, main weapons, in any vehicle, you can just press F by default. So thanks for watching. Please leave a like and share this video as it helps my channel grow, and check out my other videos at the end of this one. And remember, in Soviet Russia, YouTube subscribes you.